What is going on, everyone? Anthony Drew Gary here, host of the How To Show, where we talk about optimizing life, money, and happiness one how-to at a time. And this week on the show, we are talking about I-bonds, which stand for inflation bonds, which is something I've never covered on the channel before, so want to explain essentially how to handle I-bonds in 2023, because it's different than it was in 2021 or 2022 when these gained a lot of popularity. And for those of you who are not familiar with them, I-bonds are essentially a type of government-backed bond that is available for purchase on the United States Treasury website, which is an extremely cumbersome website to navigate, though I hear it is getting better. And ultimately what it is it's an instrument that you can park your money in, and it will pay you a rate of return that is indexed based on the inflation rate of the United States economy at the time that the dollars are being established in those types of funds or those bonds that you're purchasing. And so this was really, really popular as inflation was really high a couple of years ago. And not to say it's not high now, but bear with me as we explain that through. It wasn't out of the question that in late 2021, early 2022, you could put dollars into I-bonds, and based on the rate of inflation, they were paying out 9% roughly. And this was a really attractive investment because at the time, high yield savings accounts were only paying 1% to 2%, maybe 3% if you were lucky. And so there were a lot of people that were fascinated by this. They put their money into I-bonds, and then they were going to get this great rate of return. Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, inflation has come down over the last several months, and we're at a situation now where the I-bonds are only paying about 3%, which is upside down in the thought process because you've got high yield savings accounts now that are paying upwards of 5.25%. Shout out to VO Bank for being one of those. They're not sponsoring this episode, but they should be because I recommend them all the time. They've got a great high yield savings product. So when 5.25% is better than the 3% in the I-bonds, people are looking to pull out of their I-bonds. And what they're finding is that this is a set up scenario where the I-bonds basically penalize you a little bit of the interest that you made over the last previous year if you pull those I-bonds out too early. So it's a circumstance where if you've got those I-bonds, you probably want to pull out of them and eat that penalty just so that you can get yourself into a high yield savings account that's paying north of 5% these days. And if you're not yet in these I-bonds, I would avoid them in their entirety because again, you're far better off right now parking your emergency funds or you're saving up for a car, whatever it is, parking that money in a high yield savings account that's paying 5%, which is a good amount of return for folks in my age range who have never seen savings accounts paying that much in our entire lives. So that's the long and the short of the I-bonds. They were really attractive for a brief amount of time and they got really popular, but right now it's probably not worth putting any money into them because they're not paying out what you could get elsewhere in a relatively low risk situation like those high yield accounts. So take that, run with it. Hopefully it's useful to you, and if this video might be useful to somebody else that you care about, feel free to share it with them because that's going to bring this episode of the show to a close. You can engage with me in the comments if you agree, disagree, have other questions about I-bonds. I'll feel free to leave a comment down there. I will do my best to answer you or to get you an answer. And as always, if you are looking to transact real estate in the Indianapolis market, you can get in touch with me in the comments or at IndyDwell.com. Until next time, this is Anthony Drew Gary, host of the How To Show, signing off.